Okay, so my spirits are very low, and I wanted to thank Reader's Digest because when I got your book today, I was so anxious to read it, yes, but there was this inspiring story on the front that reminded me of my grandma and brought tears to my eyes. It says Reader's Digest, December 2021, January 2022. Holiday Angels, Kindness in Action. And there's this beautiful angel on there lit up in gold. Of course, there's other stories, but that one is the main focus of the one I want to share with you tonight. First, let's start with Dear Reader. In college, I wrote an essay about Christmas Eve, and I wanted to capture the spirit of this special night for my family. I got an A, but even the comment from my professor was, I believe you have found an avocation. I had to look up avocation. According to Merriam-Webster, it meant a subordinate occupation pursued in addition to one's vocation, especially for enjoyment. A hobby. It can also mean a customary employment or vocation. I'm not sure which way the professor meant it, but either way, it turned out to be right. My essay described our traditions: chili, church, 2 presents, pajamas, and plus a gift of our choosing. A lot of it was about my Aunt Bud and the matriarch of my mom's family. We were lucky we lived the closest, so she spent holidays at our house. Sadly, she's gone now. Like so many wonderful spirits, she died too young, but just after she retired, the big plan was for an easy life. But she's not really gone. She visits us all often in the form of a cardinal, her favorite bird, and that one that looks a lot like her, round and bossy. One June day, I called my mom. What you doing? I asked. Sitting here looking at the buddy's tree, she said, referring to the arborvitae, which is a tree of life. The funeral home had sent home with us. It was about a foot tall when my dad planted it. Today it towers over the roof line. There are cardinals all over it, Mom said. I've never seen so many. I wasn't surprised. Mom, you know what day it is, right? I said. It's Aunt Bud's birthday. So of course she had to come to visit with her friends. In this issue, we've collected inspiring stories about unusual events this year. We focus on people who extended a kindness that made a forever difference in someone else's life. Angels in action, we call them. I hope your angel visits you this holiday season. Jody L. Rulina, Deputy Editor. Write to me at letters@rd.com. Oh, let me just tell you something. If you watch this video, Miss Rolima, you got tears in my eyes because we used to have a bird feeder in the backyard. And we had lots of bird things that my grandma would feed the birds, and she'd feed the stray cats, anything outside. And her favorite country music singer was Becky Hobbs. And they had a close bond. The song she always loved the most was Angels Among Us. And it was written by Becky Hobbs. It was played at her funeral. And she is and always will be an angel. Moving forward. Reader's Digest, Everyday Heroes, Kindness on Automotive by Andy Simmons. Christmas 2020 was shaping up to be a heartbreaker for Melanie Lee. A few weeks earlier, her 33-year-old son had lost his battle with a long illness. Then the transmission on her 2007 Chevrolet Tahoe conked out. She had no means of paying for it to be fixed. When it broke down, I broke down, Lee told CNN. Now I don't have my baby. Now I don't have my transportation. How am I supposed to stay active in my grandchildren's lives? Enter Elliot Middleton at 38, the owner of a barbecue restaurant and former auto mechanic who, in his free time, repairs and gives away used cars. He heard about Lee's predicament from her nephew, Frank McClary, the mayor of Andrews, South Carolina, population 3,000. On Christmas morning, Middleton showed up unannounced at Lee's home with a gift, a white 1993 Oldsmobile. I had no idea what was going on, said Lee. He handed me the keys and didn't ask for anything. Once again, she was able to pick up her granddaughter from school and take them back to dance class. I got my freedom back. The idea for the used car giveaway came to Middleton a year earlier during a food drive that he organized. Many of those who lined up for a meal walked up to 4 miles to get there because they didn't have cars. Cars are a lifeline in this part of the South Carolina, Middleton told CBS. There's no public transportation, no Ubers, no taxi to take people to job interviews, doctor appointment, even food shopping. So he posted on Facebook an offer to trade slabs of his restaurant's specialty barbecued ribs for broken down vehicles. Since then, friends and strangers have dropped off more than 100 cars in various states of disrepair. Many sit in Middleton's yard waiting to be patched up and donated, usually to those he's heard through word of mouth. That it's a list of names that grow daily. People think Elliot is an angel, Mayor McCleary told the Washington Post, and I do too. It's good to hear that there's good, kind people out there, that they still exist. And we should be grateful for them. Let's see here. Really good articles. I want you to check out the book. We're going to continue on with Angels in Action, which is the cover story. As our readers show, the most unexpected gifts are often the ones that keep on giving, and this is the kindness of strangers. I was sleep deprived as I drove home one night in the pouring rain. I was driving too fast. I fell asleep and rolled my truck 6 times. I remember feeling the rain on my face and hearing a helicopter, and I remember the doctor who stitched me up. As I was being discharged from the hospital, the nurse put a gigantic pile of coats in my arms. They were not mine, so where did they come from? Apparently, while I was hanging from the truck in the rain, random people had stopped, walked through the shattered glass and crumpled metal, and laid their coats over me to shield me from the elements. I left that hospital with 10 coats. 10 strangers cared about me, even though I had made a terrible mistake. I cleaned those coats and put ads in the paper offering to return them, but no one ever came forward. I stared at them every day for nearly a year, marveling at the goodness of people. I finally gave them to a local church. I still have the photograph of the truck that I totaled, and at any time I need a reminder of kindness inherent to humanity, I look at that picture. Jessica Falconer from Belfast, Maine. Soon after my wife was diagnosed with ALS, she could no longer safely ride her beloved bicycle. But she did want to ride, so we decided to get a recumbent exercise bike. Off we went to a local shop. As we were discussing the pros and cons, a rather expensive model, the owner came over and asked if we needed help. I asked if he offered some kind of rental or buyback program, explaining that my wife's condition was progressive and that she would be able to use the bike only for a short time. He reached down and tore off the price tag and said, "It's yours." He said that he called over his employees and told them to load the bike into our vehicle, follow us to our house, and set up that bike. By now my wife and I were in tears. They both refused to accept any money, not to even cover the gas. Timothy Gove out of Durham, Connecticut. I was in South Carolina, having made my trip in the 20-year-old van with just the dog for company and crying for just about 1,000 miles of the drive. I had learned only a day or two before that my beloved brother Billy had been killed. One of his friends had driven me to a store to get oil for the van. As I came out of the store, I was approached by an older woman. She walked up and enveloped me in the tightest hug. "I read about your brother in the paper," she said. "I prayed for him, and I'm going to pray for you." I don't know who she was or how she knew who I was, but this stranger sensed my grief and cared enough to reach out to me. I think of her often. I remember that face, her kind eyes. Sometimes I wonder whether she was an angel, and yes, she definitely was. Jody Moen from Sandwich, Massachusetts. It was 2 weeks before Christmas. I was an airman at the McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. I was married with a 7-month-old son. We lived in an apartment we barely could afford, so I worked part-time as a short-order cook to make rent. I walked a mile every day to catch a ride to the base. We really couldn't afford Christmas, but on this day we heard a knock on the door, and when I answered, no one was there, but a Christmas tree was lying at our doorstep. I never found out who left it for us. We cut it up and colored newspaper for decorations. I will never forget that kindness. It really embodied the spirit of Christmas. Thornton Pitcher from Allerton, Pennsylvania. After using all my sick time to care for my fiancé after he underwent surgery, I found myself with a major ear infection and working the Christmas rush at a big box store. One day I rang up a nice woman who said she would pray for my health. The next day she was rough. Several customers belittled and berated me, and then I was touched by someone's arm, and it was the woman from the day before. She said she was glad to see me. I was looking better. I thanked her, and I turned back to the register to finish up bringing up the customer. After things calmed down, I realized that she had left an envelope with my name on it. Tucked inside, along with a copy of the Lord's Prayer, was a crisp $100 bill. That card was signed Pat, and I never saw her again, but I wish I could tell her that gift kept our lights on for that December and paid our medication. I needed to treat my ear, but it's been more than 10 years, and I still think about Pat. Elizabeth Church from South Euclid, Ohio. Oh, so good, so good. I need some water for this for a moment. Angels in Action. As you wish. A balloon breaks at the right moment to bring two faraway families together. By Rebecca Miser. Alvin Bamberg, 66, was deep in the woods in the Grand Cane, Louisiana last December when something caught his eye. Crinkled and entangled in a fallen tree, it looked like a litter, but Bamberg compelled to pick it up. God just told me, he says. As Bamberg approached, he saw the object was a broken balloon. Attached was a piece of paper decorated with a sparkly star and sticker. It was a child's Christmas wish list. Dear Santa, the handwritten note read, My name is Luna. I'm 4 years old. I live in Liberal, Kansas. This year I have been nice. I would like candy, Spider-Man ball, frozen doll, puppy, My Little Pony with love, Luna. Bamberg's heart hammered in his chest. Ever since he was a child, he had dreamed of this scenario. Years ago, he said, classes at school released balloons with notes, and I've always wanted to find one. He believed that this was his childhood wish coming true, and he knew he was going to make Luna's wish come true. He just wasn't sure how. Liberal, Kansas is more than 650 miles away from Grand Cane, Louisiana, but Bamberg's wife, Leanne Bamberg, was undeterred by this distance, and an avid Facebook user. She had seen other people find all sorts of connections through the site and thought it might help find her husband find Luna. On January 2nd, 2021, Alvin posted a photo of the balloon and the Christmas list on the Facebook page, asking for help in locating the sender. At first, he wasn't confident the strategy would work, but as he saw the number of people sharing his post it crept up into the hundreds. My hope grew into expectations, Alvin said, and I knew we were going to find Luna. Meanwhile, Leticia Florescent Gonzalez, the mother of the 4-year-old Luna, and her twin sister Gigiana had no idea of such an effort was underway. She was in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, visiting her parents. It had been a hard year for Florescent Gonzalez and her girls. A few months before the pandemic hit, her parents had moved out of Kansas. No other relatives lived nearby, and COVID-19 spread, and the family felt lonely and scared and isolated. On a particularly tough day, that last December, Flores Gonzalez had come up with the idea of having the girls send letters to Santa by balloon. She told them that Santa would grab the balloon while he flew through the air on his sled. The twins were excited. Flores Gonzalez helped them compose their letters, writing down all the things they dreamed and Santa might bring them, and then they put the notes in the festive red balloons. As she dressed the girls in identical pink sweatshirts, it was chilly, windy morning, and she put floppy bows in their hair and then took them outside to release their wishes to the universe. Bye, balloons, the girls cried, waving as the balloons floated away, sailing above the trees and into the sky. The family enjoyed the modest Christmas together, and then on the calendar turned to New Year. One a day, early in January, Flores Gonzalez noticed that a friend had been calling her all morning. When Flores Gonzalez finally called her friend back, the friend blurted out, "Someone found Luna's balloon." My jaw dropped, Flores Gonzalez says, as her friend urging her. She logged on to Facebook and saw Alvin's post. And then she saw the people from all over asking if they too could be part of fulfilling the wish list. Flores Gonzalez was touched, but she hesitated before reaching out to Alvin. She really was not expecting anyone to find the balloon, let alone offer to buy the girl and buy gifts for her daughters. She was curious about the man who tried so hard to find her family, so she gave him a call. When Alvin told how much it meant to him to grant the girl's wishes, she agreed to let him send some gifts. Somebody found one of your balloons, Flores Gonzalez then told the twins. Santa dropped it by accident. One of his elves found it. Back in Louisiana, Alvin got busy collecting toys from the newfound Facebook community. He collected 5 boxes worth of gifts for the girls, sending them off a note signed Alvin the Elf. Still, there was one wish on that list he couldn't go in that box, a puppy. Alvin had hoped to get every last item on that list, and so, with Flores Gonzalez's blessing, he started searching for the perfect pooch. He found it in a dachshund puppy, which he kept at his house until it was time for Alvin the Elf to make the last house call. In April, Alvin and Leanne headed to Oklahoma City that morning, just as the chilly and windy as the day Luna and Jelena waved goodbye to their balloons. Alvin got out of the car in the front of the girls' grandparents' house. He let the puppy run to the twins, who squealed with delight when they learned it was theirs. "Is this what you wanted for Christmas, girls?" Flores Gonzalez asked. "Yes," they said as they hugged their new pet. Later, both families sat down together to share their homemade tacos. They all agreed it felt as though they'd known each other forever. "We see him as part of our family now," Flores Gonzalez says, Alvin, "and we do keep in touch with him daily." Now, almost having reached so much generosity, Flores Gonzalez and her girls intend to pay it forward this year. When they travel to Mexico at Christmas time, they'll take their toys, clothing, and shoes to give to children there. After all, Alvin went more than an extra mile. He could have just thrown that balloon in the trash, but he wanted to find Luna. Flores Gonzalez says, Alvin feels his chance encounter with that red balloon showed him his calling. He began attending a Santa Claus training school with the goal of playing jolly old St. Nick at toy drives and homeless shelters. "God hears our prayers," he says. "When you ask for something, it may not happen immediately. I wanted this since I was a teenager." And the last thing we're going to do tonight together is the word power. But I'm going to come back and do that with you in a few minutes. I want to get myself together and then do the Care Bears, and then we'll come back and do the word power. That way we can complete the Reader's Digest all in one night.